Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Excelling Psychology. This is a very quick video just to cover up what I missed in the evaluation video of the Andrade doodling study. Please watch that video. It's the previous one on the playlist to understand this video fully. I covered the strengths and weaknesses of all the elements of the study in that video, but I did miss a few points of the syllabus requirements after that, which you must have seen on my blog as well. So I'll discuss those in this video. Remember that we are referring to page 16 of the CIE AS 9990 curriculum year. Do make sure that you've revised your issues and debates in general before you take up this lesson. So after the strengths and weaknesses of all elements, we need to describe and evaluate the research methods used. I have already discussed the description in the first part, so I won't repeat it here. As for the evaluation, I have covered that in part 2 of the study. You must have seen my discussion of the laboratory experiment in terms of its evaluation as a research method. I had also discussed ethics. All these slides that I'm going through are there in part 2 of the video. I'm just trying to remind you of those by presenting them here. Okay, we need to make the exact same discussion here regarding the ethics and the research method. There's only one additional point relating to validity that we missed out. We know that an independent measures design was used and there were two contrast groups, one of which was a control group that did not perform doodling of any kind. Such a group always serves as a baseline. It helps us obtain a baseline. Like I said, a baseline is a foundation against which we can compare the performance of the experimental group. Once we get a baseline for comparison, that adds to the reliability and validity of the study. Coming to the issues and debates now, which is the next requirement in the syllabus. In terms of these, the first that is applicable to the study is the application of psychology to everyday life. Here we need to know the psychology being investigated. I hope you remember that was attention. Now, where would attention be useful in our daily lives? In numerous situations, in a lot of tasks. You can see some on the screen. I have presented a few of the examples from everyday life here. So what do we conclude? That the issue studied in the present research is very high on usefulness. There is one more strength of the study in terms of usefulness, which is mentioned by the researcher herself, and this is in terms of the potential of the findings beyond just attention for boring tasks. It can also be used to reduce overthinking, which can lead to worrying, as we've discussed in the previous part 2, to prevent rumination. I think I also mentioned this in part 1 in explanation. The applicability, however, is often restricted by the operational use of a variable, or simply the way variables are used in a study can restrict the applicability. This was definitely the case in the present study. In the previous video, I discussed how the tasks were artificial, all of them to some extent at least. So though the findings hold potential, we will never know how they will work out in the real world unless they are tested on the field. Another restriction to the applicability was the unrepresentative sample. Unless we test the findings of any study with diverse participants in this study, unless we test the findings with different students or workers or whoever our target is, we will not know for how many types of people these findings can be beneficial. Next, we look into the debate of individual versus situational explanations. In the present study, the psychology being investigated again was attention. So we need to ask ourselves what was taken to explain the psychology behind attention. In this study, it was the nature of the task being performed. Professor Andrade believed that boring tasks challenge our attention while interesting tasks sustain our attention. She thought that a task like monitoring a telephone message would not appeal to any person. It would be boring for anybody. This makes it a situational explanation, an explanation beyond the individual's own characteristics. One more position by the researcher that is indicative of a situational explanation is that she observed from past research that daydreaming is higher than usual for boring tasks. She employed doodling in a bid to reduce this daydreaming, which was, according to her, being induced by the situation. We should know from our understanding of issues and debates that the strength of situational explanations is that they help us to undertake interventions that can alter situations and resolve problems of individuals that are contingent on situations. This is obvious in the present study. Professor Andrade suggested doodling as an intervention to deal with boring tasks. On the flip side, situational explanations do not always account for a phenomenon. We actually hear of a lot of people who claim to enjoy routine and monotonous work. You might have heard of the popular concept of flow, of the realistic type of personality in Holland's personality theory. No, you don't need to know any theory here. You just need to know that there is research evidence that some people can actually like or not mind doing boring work. So obviously they manage to be attentive for such work even for long hours. What does this mean for a study? It means that some participants may not have found the work to be boring. Some people among us might not find telephone message monitoring boring. So a situational explanation is not a complete one over here. The remaining issues and debates do not apply to this study. Not every issue or debate holds relevance for every study. The last section we need to discuss is the application of findings to the real world. This is different from the issue of applicability. Here we only need to know some real life instances where these findings can be applied, not whether the study lent itself to usefulness or not. We don't need to evaluate anything here. Just take a minute to read what is on the screen and you'll understand what I'm saying. I've presented 3 examples here as you see on the screen. So what the study has found is applicable to students, workers, and the number of people whom you can think of. You can come up with your own creative examples. There we've completed the evaluation section fully now. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much for watching the video. Goodbye.